Pierre exposes why Teyana Taylor betrayed him behind the scenes. They told him to stay quiet. They told him to protect the image. They told him Hollywood would destroy him if he spoke up. But tonight, the silence has allegedly been shattered, and what's pouring out is shaking the industry to its core. Because according to explosive whispers racing through celebrity circles right now, Pierre didn't just walk away from Teyana Taylor, he finally saw the truth. And once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it. This isn't a breakup story. This isn't messy gossip. This is an alleged behind-the-scenes betrayal so calculated, so ruthless, that insiders say it exposes a pattern Hollywood has been hiding in plain sight for years. Leaked messages, secret recordings, closed-door confrontations that never made the blogs until now. Sources claim Aaron discovered he wasn't losing a relationship, he was being replaced, repositioned, and rewritten out of the narrative in real time. While fans applauded red carpet smiles and award season wins, insiders allege a very different story was unfolding in private rooms with powerful names and dangerous influence. And when one specific name allegedly entered the picture, everything detonated. Social media is already in chaos. Old interviews are resurfacing. Viral clips are being dissected frame by frame. Fans are divided. Celebrities are posting cryptic warnings. And the most terrifying part: insiders say what's already leaked is only the beginning. Because if Aaron is truly done protecting secrets, the next revelation won't just change how you see Teyana Taylor, it could expose how Hollywood really works. Buckle up. This story is about to get ugly. The moment everything allegedly began to unravel wasn't loud. It wasn't public. It wasn't caught on camera. According to whispers from people who claim they were close enough to feel the temperature shift, it started with silence. The kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful, it feels deliberate. Pierre, sources say, began noticing that the energy was off long before the world had any idea there was trouble. Texts that once flowed suddenly stalled. Calls went unanswered for hours, then days. Explanations stopped making sense. And every time he tried to lean in, insiders claim he was met with reassurance that sounded practiced, almost scripted, like lines memoized in advance. Publicly, everything looked perfect. Smiles were sharp. Appearances were timed. Interviews were warm. But behind closed doors, according to alleged insiders, the atmosphere was tightening like a noose. What Aaron allegedly didn't know at first was that he wasn't just dealing with emotional distance, he was dealing with positioning. Sources say conversations were happening without him, rooms were being entered without his knowledge, and narratives were being drafted while he was still trying to save something he thought was real. One insider claims Aaron stumbled onto the first red flag accidentally, a notification that wasn't meant for him to see. A message preview with no name attached, just a phrase that didn't belong to any professional exchange. When he asked about it, sources allege the response was calm, dismissive, almost amused. He was told he was overthinking. That Hollywood friendships looked different. That he needed to trust her. And because he did trust her, he swallowed the doubt, at least for a while. But doubt has a way of multiplying. Allegedly, Aaron began hearing things secondhand. Whispers at industry events. Side glances that lingered too long. Conversations that stopped when he walked into the room. People who suddenly treated him like an accessory instead of a partner. According to insiders, the most unsettling part wasn't any single rumor, it was the consistency. The same name popping up in unrelated conversations. The same events overlapping in ways that felt too precise. The same excuses repeated with surgical accuracy. And then came the first real confrontation. Sources say it happened late at night, after an argument that started small and escalated fast. Aaron allegedly asked a simple question, and didn't get a simple answer. He pressed. The tone shifted. Tears allegedly appeared, followed by frustration, followed by an accusation that he was trying to sabotage her momentum. That was the moment, insiders say, he realized love and ambition were no longer on the same side of the table. As the alleged tension escalated, Aaron reportedly started seeing the machinery behind the image. He noticed how quickly certain stories were redirected. How narratives softened before they ever reached the blogs. How certain bloggers never touched certain rumors. Insiders claim he began to feel like he was dating not just a person, but a brand with layers of protection. And the deeper he looked, the more he allegedly recognized patterns that felt disturbingly familiar, patterns people whispered had existed long before he entered the picture. According to those close to him, Aaron quietly revisited the public history of her past relationships, and saw parallels he couldn't ignore. Who spoke first? Who controlled the framing? Who walked away empowered while the other faded into silence? The realization didn't come all at once. It crept in, heavy and nauseating. Then came the name that insiders say changed everything. Leonardo DiCaprio. Publicly, the connection was framed as admiration, professionalism, mutual respect between artists. Privately, according to alleged insiders, it looked different. Invitations that didn't include Aaron. Industry dinners where he was told not to worry about optics. Late-night gatherings explained away as networking. Aaron reportedly tried to believe it. He wanted to believe it. But sources claim what finally broke him was not gossip, it was behavior. Body language that contradicted words. Inside jokes he wasn't part of. A closeness that didn't need to be announced to be felt. When he allegedly confronted her directly about Leonardo, insiders say the reaction wasn't denial, it was irritation. He was told he didn't understand how Hollywood worked. That opportunities required access. That insecurity could cost people careers. That sentence, sources claim, echoed in his head long after the argument ended. From there, everything allegedly accelerated. Aaron began documenting what he saw, not out of malice, but out of confusion. Messages saved. Dates noted. Timelines quietly reconstructed. And as he allegedly compared notes, a terrifying picture emerged. Overlaps that couldn't be explained away. Moments where he thought they were rebuilding trust, that coincided with private appearances elsewhere. According to insiders, he realized the relationship wasn't collapsing, it had already been compartmentalized. He was the emotional constant. Others were strategic variables. And when he allegedly expressed how deeply this was affecting him, sources say he was met with a chilling calm. Not cruelty. Indifference. As if his pain was inconvenient rather than devastating. The industry, meanwhile, kept applauding. Award buzz grew louder. Cameras flashed brighter. Insiders claim Aaron watched the Golden Globe chatter with a knot in his chest, because he allegedly knew something the audience didn't. That behind the momentum was not just talent, but proximity. Not just performance, but influence. And when the win finally happened, sources say Aaron didn't celebrate, he dissociated. Because to him, the trophy symbolized something darker, confirmation that whatever game was being played, it was working. Allegedly, that night ended with a private exchange so intense that someone outside the room later described it as a breakdown disguised as composure. Aaron reportedly accused her of using intimacy as leverage. Of rewriting reality to suit her climb. And according to insiders, she didn't argue. She simply said this was the price of greatness. That sentence allegedly destroyed him. From that point on, the fallout moved in silence, but spread like wildfire. Aaron's inner circle claims he began questioning everything, not just her, but himself. How long had he been convenient? How many moments had been curated? How many weak conversations had actually been me decisions? And just when he thought the truth couldn't hurt more, insiders allege someone else stepped forward quietly with information he never asked for. A third-party witness, who claimed to have seen things he wasn't supposed to know about. Timelines confirmed. Private interactions validated. Patterns exposed. That was when heartbreak allegedly turned into clarity. Social media, of course, sensed something before it was told. Fans noticed the distance. The absence. The subtle unfollow that went unnoticed for hours before exploding. Old clips resurfaced with new context. Interviews where jokes landed differently. Comments that felt rehearsed. And as speculation mounted, insiders claim Aaron was advised to stay quiet. To protect his future. To not challenge narratives already in motion. But according to those closest to him, something inside had shifted. Because once you realize you're being edited out of your own story, silence feels like erasure. And that's where this chapter ends, not with a public statement, not with a headline, but with a decision. Insiders say Aaron stopped trying to fix the relationship and started trying to understand the system that allowed it to happen. Because what he allegedly discovered next wasn't about jealousy or love triangles. It was about power. And once he saw that layer, there was no going back. Once that realization allegedly set in, the story didn't slow down, it mutated. According to insiders, Aaron stopped reacting emotionally and started observing strategically. He went quiet, but not disengaged. He began watching how decisions were made around him, how doors opened for some people and stayed sealed for others. He allegedly noticed how quickly certain calls were returned, how specific names carried weight in rooms he was never invited into. And the most disturbing part, sources claim, was how normal all of it seemed to everyone else. This wasn't chaos. This was routine. A system. And he was never meant to be anything more than a temporary fixture inside it. Allegedly, the second confrontation was far worse than the first. This one wasn't fueled by confusion, it was fueled by evidence. Insiders claim Aaron laid out timelines, dates, overlapping events. He asked questions that couldn't be brushed off as insecurity. And for the first time, sources say the mask slipped. The response wasn't emotional. It was defensive, clipped, and chillingly pragmatic. According to one person who claims to have been briefed afterward, she allegedly told him that relationships in Hollywood evolve, and that expecting exclusivity while careers are accelerating is naive. That sentence reportedly landed like a slap. Because to Aaron, love had rules. To her, insiders allege, love was flexible, but ambition was non-negotiable. From there, the alleged damage control kicked into high gear. Aaron reportedly noticed subtle, but unmistakable shifts in public behavior. Solo appearances framed as independence. Carefully worded interviews emphasizing growth and self-focus. Vague quotes about endings and rebirths that fans interpreted as empowerment. But insiders claim those weren't organic moments. They were calculated beats in a narrative rollout. At the same time, Aaron allegedly began hearing that people were being quietly warned not to speak to him. That associating too closely could be misinterpreted. That sides were being drawn without ever announcing a war. And that's when he realized he wasn't just losing a relationship, he was being isolated. Then came the alleged leaks. Not to the blogs. Not to the public. To him. Screenshots from anonymous numbers. Short clips with no context. Snippets of conversations recorded at private gatherings. Insiders claim one audio clip captured laughter, after someone joked about how easy it is to manage optics when the audience wants to believe. Aaron reportedly played that clip on repeat, trying to convince himself it was fake. According to those close to him, that was the night he didn't sleep at all. Because once you hear something like that, you start questioning every smile you've ever trusted. The Leonardo rumors, meanwhile, exploded into something impossible to contain. Allegedly, industry insiders began whispering that the connection wasn't just personal, it was strategic. That proximity to him meant access to rooms where careers are decided before casting calls ever happen. Aaron reportedly learned that certain introductions had been facilitated long before he ever suspected a problem. Dinners he wasn't invited to. Conversations he wasn't supposed to know about. And while none of it was ever acknowledged publicly, insiders claim the silence spoke volumes. Because in Hollywood, denials are loud. Silence is intentional. As the pressure mounted, Aaron allegedly reached out to people he trusted for clarity. What he got instead was confirmation. Multiple insiders, independent of each other, allegedly described the same pattern. Charm. Intensity. Emotional closeness. Followed by strategic distancing once goals were within reach. According to sources, hearing it from strangers hurt more than hearing it from her. Because it meant this wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a cycle. And realizing you're part of a cycle is a special kind of devastation. One that rewrites your entire sense of self. Social media added fuel to the fire. Fans began noticing how quickly narratives shifted in her favor. How criticism was drowned out by think pieces. How skepticism was reframed as misogyny. Some defended her fiercely, accusing Aaron of being threatened by her success. Others began questioning why every breakup seemed to follow the same script. TikTok creators stitched together old interviews, pointing out contradictions. Tweets went viral suggesting that certain wins felt industry-assisted. Celebrities chimed in with cryptic posts about truth and timing. And still, no direct response. According to insiders, that silence wasn't fear, it was confidence. Behind the scenes, Aaron was reportedly unraveling. Friends describe moments of rage followed by numbness. Of self-blame mixed with clarity. He allegedly questioned whether speaking up would destroy him more than staying quiet already had. Because in an industry built on perception, the truth doesn't always win, the better story does. And according to whispers, she already had hers locked in. Independent. Unbothered. Thriving. Meanwhile, he was being quietly framed as emotional, unstable, difficult. The contrast was brutal. And deliberate. Then came the moment insiders say changed everything. A private industry event. Off the record. No cameras allowed. Aaron allegedly attended at the invitation of someone he trusted. And there, according to multiple whispers, he witnessed something he couldn't explain away. A level of familiarity. A comfort that didn't match the public narrative. A shared history that clearly didn't start yesterday. Insiders say he left early, got into his car, and sat there for nearly an hour without turning the engine on. Because sometimes the truth doesn't scream, it just stands there, undeniable. After that night, Aaron allegedly stopped trying to negotiate peace. He started preparing for fallout. He backed up messages. Saved voicemails. Logged dates. According to insiders, this wasn't revenge, it was self-defense. Because he'd learned that in Hollywood, memory is flexible, but receipts are permanent. At the same time, whispers suggest more people began reaching out to him quietly. Others who claimed to have been discarded. Others who recognized the pattern too late. And with each story, the picture became clearer and darker. What scared him most, insiders say, wasn't the betrayal itself. It was how efficiently it was handled. How emotions were compartmentalized. How quickly the machine adjusted. Because that meant this wasn't a mistake, it was a method. And methods don't feel guilt. They just move forward. By the time the public began speculating openly about the split, Aaron allegedly already knew the narrative he'd be handed. The supportive ex. The quiet one. The man who should be grateful for proximity. And that's when he made a choice that terrified everyone advising him. According to insiders, Aaron decided he wasn't going to play his assigned role. He didn't go public. Not yet. He didn't leak everything. Not yet. But he stopped cooperating with the illusion. He stopped protecting the story that erased him. And that, sources say, is when the real panic set in behind closed doors. Because as long as he stayed quiet, the machine could function. But the moment he stopped participating, the balance shifted. Rumors began circulating that lawyers were consulted. That contingency plans were drafted. That people started asking who else might talk if he did. And just when it seemed like the storm had peaked, insiders alleged something surfaced that no one was prepared for. Not a rumor. Not a screenshot. But testimony from someone with nothing to gain and everything to lose. Someone who allegedly witnessed conversations that were never meant to leave the room. Conversations about timing. About sacrifice. About who gets burned so the climb can continue. That's when insiders say the story crossed a line. Because once third-party voices enter the narrative, it's no longer about heartbreak. It's about exposure. And according to whispers spreading fast, the next revelation won't just implicate one person, it will implicate the system that protected her. And that's where things are about to get truly dangerous. By the time the third voice allegedly entered the picture, the entire atmosphere shifted from scandal to threat. According to insiders, this wasn't a fan, a blogger, or a hanger-on chasing attention. This was someone who had been in the room. Someone who had heard conversations without filters, without cameras, without public masks. And when that person allegedly reached out to Aaron, it wasn't with drama, it was with certainty. Sources say the message was short, direct, and terrifying. You weren't wrong. And you weren't the first. That single sentence, insiders claim, changed the trajectory of everything. What followed, according to whispers, was not emotional chaos, but surgical calm. Aaron allegedly listened. Asked questions. Verified details only someone present could know. Dates aligned. Language